The doctor passed me a secret note that read, "Don't go home, run." That night, I discovered my own family was planning to lock me in a nursing home to steal everything from me. But what they didn't know was that I had a secret that would change their lives forever. My name is Martha. I'm 70 years old, and for 45 years, I believed I had raised a loving son. Michael came into my life when he was just 2 years old, an abandoned child my husband and I adopted with all the love in the world. I gave him everything: education, affection, sacrifice, my best years. When my husband died 10 years ago, Michael became my only family, along with his wife, Vanessa, and my granddaughter, Ashley. But that Tuesday, during what should have been a routine medical appointment, my world fell apart. Dr. Evans, my trusted doctor for years, examined me as usual, but something in his behavior seemed strange. His hands trembled slightly as he checked my blood pressure, and he avoided my direct gaze. "Everything is fine, Mrs. Martha," he said in a tense voice. "Your tests are perfect. Your heart is strong. You have many years of life ahead of you." But as I got up to leave, I felt him move closer behind me. Suddenly, as I was picking up my purse, Dr. Evans discreetly slipped a folded piece of paper into the bottom of my handbag. He did it so quickly I almost didn't notice. "Take good care of yourself, Mrs. Martha," he said with a forced smile. "And remember, family is not always what it seems." His words sent a chill down my spine. What did he mean by that? Why had he given me that paper so secretly? I left the office with my heart racing but decided not to read the note until I got home. During the taxi ride, 1,000 thoughts crossed my mind. Dr. Evans had never acted so strangely. He was a serious, professional man who had known my family since Michael was a teenager. Why was he giving me secret messages now? When I arrived home, Michael was in the living room with Vanessa and Ashley. The three of them were talking in low voices but fell abruptly silent when they saw me enter. Vanessa was holding several papers that she quickly hid behind her back. "How was the doctor's, Mom?" Michael asked with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Everything is fine, son." "The doctor says I'm perfect," I replied, trying to sound normal. Vanessa exchanged a look with Michael that did not go unnoticed. Why did they seem disappointed? Did they expect the doctor to tell me I was sick? "That's great, Grandma," Ashley said, but her voice sounded strangely cold. "It means you have a lot of time ahead of you to enjoy." That night at dinner, I noticed my family was acting very strangely. Michael barely spoke to me. Vanessa answered in monosyllables, and Ashley avoided my gaze. There was a tension in the air you could cut with a knife. "Is something wrong?" I finally asked. "No, Mom, everything's fine," Michael replied quickly. "We're just tired." After dinner, I went to my room with a heavy heart. Something was definitely going on, and Dr. Evans' note was starting to make sense. With trembling hands, I took the paper out of my purse and unfolded it. What I read took my breath away. "Mrs. Martha, your family was here yesterday. Vanessa asked me about your mental state and if I could certify that you need special care. They want to put you in a nursing home. They also asked about your inheritance and assets. Don't go back home. Run. Dr. Evans." My hands began to shake uncontrollably. My own family? The son I raised with so much love? The daughter-in-law I treated like a daughter? My granddaughter, who was always my darling? Suddenly, it all started to make sense. The strange looks, the whispers, the hidden papers. They weren't disappointed because I was in good health. They were furious because the doctor hadn't cooperated with their plans. I couldn't sleep that night. Every noise in the house made me jump. I lay awake listening, trying to understand how I had reached this point. How was it possible that the family for whom I had sacrificed everything was now conspiring against me? At 2 a.m, I heard voices in the kitchen. I got up stealthily and crept to my bedroom door. I could clearly hear Michael, Vanessa, and Ashley speaking in low voices, but loud enough for me to understand every word. "The damn doctor wouldn't cooperate," Vanessa said with irritation. I explained to him that the old woman is losing her mind, that sometimes she doesn't recognize anyone, that she leaves the gas on, but he insisted she's perfectly fine. "Calm down, my love," Michael replied. "We'll find another doctor, one who's willing to sign the papers we need. But what do we do with her in the meantime?" Ashley asked. I've already reserved my spot at Boston College. I need that money now, not in 5 years when she dies of old age. Ashley, don't talk like that, Michael admonished her, but without conviction. Although you're right, we need to act fast. The house is worth almost $500,000, and with her pension and savings, we could live comfortably until she dies, Vanessa completed coldly. Look, I didn't marry into this family to take care of a senile old woman. I married you because I thought you would inherit soon. But it's been 10 years, and she's still here, spending our money. Our money, I repeated in silence, feeling rage begin to build in my chest. All my money, earned with the sweat of my brow and that of my late husband, they saw as their own. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to the lawyer, Michael continued. I'm going to ask if we can have her declared incompetent without a doctor's note. There has to be a way. And if that doesn't work, Vanessa added, we can always make her life impossible until she decides to go to a home herself. Take away her TV. Don't cook for her. Treat her like what she is, a burden. Mom, don't be so cruel, Ashley said, but then added, although, to be honest, I'm tired of pretending I like her. She's always there, butting into our conversations, asking why we're late. It's unbearable. My legs began to tremble. I leaned against the wall, feeling the world crumble around me. These were the people for whom I had worked 18-hour days when Michael was little, for whom I had given up my dreams, my friendships, my own life. Remember when I turned 15? Ashley went on. She bought me that hideous red dress and forced me to wear it. All my friends made fun of me. I swore that day I would get her back. And what annoys me most, Vanessa added, is that she's always bragging about what a good mother she was, about everything she sacrificed for Michael, as if she were a saint. But the truth is, she adopted him because she couldn't have her own children. She used him to fill her own void. That's enough, Michael said, but his voice sounded tired, not indignant. Look, in a week, I'm going to talk to her. I'll tell her we found a very nice home, that it will be better for her to be with people her own age. And if she refuses, we'll use Plan B. What's Plan B? Ashley asked. We'll drive her crazy for real, Michael replied coldly. We'll switch her medications, hide her things, tell her she did things she didn't do. In a month, any doctor will certify that she's insane. The horror of his words hit me like a punch. They didn't just want to rob me. They wanted to destroy my mind, my dignity, my sanity. They wanted to turn me into what they claimed I already was. It's perfect, Vanessa said excitedly. And once she's committed, we'll have access to all her accounts. We can sell the house, collect her pension, dispose of everything without anyone bothering us. Exactly, Michael confirmed. And the best part is, no one will suspect a thing. To the outside world, we're the perfect family lovingly caring for the sick grandmother. They laughed. The three of them laughed as if they had told the best joke in the world. They laughed at me, at my naivety, at my unconditional love for them. In that moment, something inside me broke. It wasn't my heart. That was already shattered from reading Dr. Evans' note. What broke was my blind faith in goodness, my belief that love is always returned, my conviction that family is sacred. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to photocopy all her cards, Vanessa whispered. That way we can start spending little by little without her noticing. Great, Michael approved. And I'm going to go through all her papers. There has to be a will around here somewhere that we can modify. Modify how? Ashley asked. Let's just say that Grandma, in her mental confusion, decided to leave everything to us because we're the only ones who take care of her, Michael explained with a smile in his voice. Dad, you're a genius, Ashley said admiringly. But we have to be careful. If anyone suspects anything, no one is going to suspect anything, Vanessa reassured her. She has no friends, no family besides us. She's a lonely old woman who is completely dependent on us. Who is going to defend her? They were right. I had no close friends. I had lost touch with most of them when I dedicated myself completely to raising Michael. I had no siblings. My parents had died years ago. I was completely vulnerable. But what they didn't know, what they had never bothered to find out, was that I had a secret that would completely change the balance of power in this situation. When my husband died, He left me more than love and memories. He left me an inheritance that I had kept hidden all these years. $2 million in a Swiss bank account that only I knew about, plus 3 properties overseas that he had bought as an investment. I never told Michael because I wanted to be sure that he loved me for who I was, not for what I had. I wanted him to build his own life, to be independent, but now I realized I had been a fool. He had never loved me. He had only been waiting patiently for me to die, to inherit the little he thought I had. Well, Michael said finally, I think everything is clear. Tomorrow we put the plan into motion. And remember, in front of her, we have to keep being the loving family we've always been. Of course, Vanessa replied. I'm an excellent actress. I can pretend to love her a little longer. I heard their footsteps moving away toward their rooms. I stood there, paralyzed, with Dr. Evans' note clutched in my hand. He was right. I had to run. But I wasn't going to run like a scared victim. I was going to run like a woman who had just woken up from a 45-year dream. I was going to run to plan the most perfect revenge they could ever imagine. The rest of the night I spent planning. I didn't sleep a minute, but for the first time in months, I felt completely awake. I knew I had to act fast and smart. They had underestimated the senile old woman, but they would soon discover they had awakened the wrong woman. At 5 a.m, when I was sure everyone was asleep, I silently pulled out my smallest suitcase and packed only the essentials: personal documents, a few changes of clothes, my medications, and most importantly, the small notebook where I had written down all the details of my secret accounts. Before I left, I decided to do something that would give me an advantage later. I took out my phone and activated the voice recorder. Then, pretending I had forgotten something, I walked back through the house, making sure to pass near Michael and Vanessa's room. As I expected, they were already awake, whispering about their plans for the day. Vanessa was talking about photocopying my cards, while Michael mentioned his appointment with the lawyer to ask about having me declared incompetent. Do you think she suspects anything? Vanessa asked worriedly. Impossible, Michael replied. She's too old and trusting. Besides, what could she do? She has nowhere to go. No money of her own, no friends. We're all she has. It's pathetic, Vanessa added with contempt. A 70-year-old woman who is completely dependent on us. Sometimes I feel sorry for her, but then I remember she chose this life. She could have remarried after her husband died, but she preferred to stay here being the perfect grandmother. And now she's going to pay for that decision, Michael concluded coldly. Perfect. I had recorded enough material to sync them later. I put the phone away and finished getting ready to leave. I left a note on the kitchen table, went out to run some errands. Back later. Martha. I knew they wouldn't suspect a thing. After all, a senile old woman couldn't be planning a strategic escape. I took a taxi to the nearest bank. It was Wednesday morning, and I knew I had a few hours before my family realized something was wrong. At the bank, I withdrew a considerable amount of cash and also verified that my secret accounts were intact. The young teller looked at me with curiosity when I asked to withdraw $10,000 in cash. Are you sure, ma'am? That's a lot of cash to carry, she said with genuine concern. Completely sure, I replied firmly. I have some personal matters to resolve. After the bank, I took another taxi to the most elegant hotel in the city. I knew I needed a place where I could feel safe while I planned my next moves. The Commonwealth Hotel was perfect, discreet, comfortable, and with services that would allow me to maintain my privacy. How long will you be staying with us? The receptionist, an elegant woman in her 40s, asked. I'm not sure, I replied. It could be a week. It could be several months. It depends on how certain family matters unfold. She nodded with professional understanding and assigned me a suite on the 10th floor. As I rode up in the elevator, I felt a mix of terror and excitement. For the first time in decades, I was making decisions just for me. The suite was beautiful, spacious, with a view of the city, elegantly decorated and equipped with everything I needed. I sat on the living room sofa, and for the first time since the night before, I allowed the emotions to wash over me. I cried. I cried for the 45 years I had dedicated to raising a son who saw me as an obstacle. I cried for the humiliations I had endured without realizing it. I cried for the woman I had been before I became the perfect grandmother they despised. But after I cried, I dried my tears and began to plan. I took out my notebook and started making a list of everything I needed to do. First, contact my financial advisors in Switzerland to activate my accounts. Second, hire the best lawyer in the city. Third, find a private investigator who could help me document everything my family had done and was planning to do. At 2 in the afternoon, my phone started ringing. It was Michael. "Mom, where are you? It's 2 o'clock and you haven't come back." His voice sounded worried, but I could detect the irritation beneath the concern. "I'm fine, son," I replied calmly. "I decided to take a day for myself. It's been a long time." "A day for yourself? What does that mean? Where are you exactly?" Now his voice sounded clearly annoyed. "I'm in the city, doing a few things I had pending." I lied, partially. "Don't worry. I'll be back when I'm done." "Mom, this isn't normal for you. You always let us know where you're going. Vanessa is worried, and so is Ashley. We need to know where you are." For the first time in years, I detected something in his voice that surprised me: panic. He wasn't worried about my well-being. He was worried because he had lost control over me. "You know what, Michael?" I said with a calmness that surprised even myself. "I'm 70 years old. I think I'm old enough to make my own decisions about where to go and what to do." There was a silence on the other end of the line. "Mom, you're worrying me. You don't sound like yourself. Are you taking your medications?" he asked. And in that question, I could hear the beginning of his strategy. He was already planting the seed that I was not mentally well. "I'm perfectly fine, son. I've never been better," I replied, and I hung up. I immediately turned off my phone. I knew they would call obsessively, and I needed peace to do what I had to do. That afternoon, I hired the most prestigious law firm in the city. The lead attorney, a man in his 50s named Julian Croft, met with me personally when I mentioned the amount of money I was willing to pay for his services. "I need complete legal protection," I explained. "My family is trying to have me declared incompetent to take control of my assets, but I have recordings that prove it's a conspiracy." Mr. Croft listened intently as I played the recordings I had made that morning. His expression grew increasingly serious. "Mrs. Martha," he said finally, "this is very serious. What your family is planning constitutes elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and potentially forgery of documents. We could prosecute them criminally." "That's exactly what I want," I replied with determination, "but I need to do it strategically. I want them to pay, but I want it to be in the most painful way possible for them." Mr. Croft smiled. It was the smile of a man who had found a case he liked. "Mrs. Martha, I think you and I are going to work very well together," he told me. "I'm going to assign my best team to your case, but I need you to tell me everything, absolutely everything." I told him about adopting Michael, about my husband, about the years of sacrifice, about the secret inheritance, about everything. Mr. Croft took careful notes. "Do you know exactly how much money you have in your secret accounts?" he asked. $2,200,000 in cash, plus 3 properties overseas worth approximately another $1.5 million, I replied. Mr. Croft stopped writing and looked at me with renewed respect. "Mrs. Martha, you are not just a victim of family abuse. You are a very powerful woman who has been underestimated by her family. We are going to use that power to teach them the lesson of their lives." For the first time in days, I smiled genuinely. The war had begun, but now I had the right weapons. That night, from the comfort of my hotel suite, I turned on my phone to check my messages. I had 37 missed calls from Michael, 15 from Vanessa, and 8 from Ashley. The text messages were increasingly desperate. "Mom, please answer. We're very worried. Martha, if you don't respond, we're going to call the police. Grandma, where are you? Dad says you're going to get in trouble." I decided to reply only to Michael. "I'm fine. Don't worry. I'll be back when I'm ready." The response came immediately. "Mom, this isn't normal. You need to come home now. Vanessa made your favorite dinner, his favorite dinner." As if after 45 years, I didn't know that Vanessa had never cooked anything special for me. It was another lie, another manipulation. The next day, Julian Croft called me early. "Mrs. Martha, I have some interesting news. My private investigator has already started working on your case and discovered something important. Your daughter-in-law, Vanessa, has been using your personal information to apply for credit cards in your name for the past 6 months. What? I exclaimed, feeling indignation rise in my chest. You have 5 credit cards that you never authorized with an accumulated debt of $43,000. Purchases at luxury stores, expensive restaurants, even a trip to Cancun last month, the lawyer explained. But I never went to Cancun, I said, confused. No, ma'am, they did. Your family took a 1-week vacation using your money, while they told you they were going to visit Vanessa's sick mother. The memory hit me like a slap. I remembered that week perfectly. Vanessa had cried, saying her mother was very ill and they needed to go take care of her urgently. I had given them money for the trip, on top of what they had already stolen with the fake cards. Mr. Croft, what else did your investigator discover? I asked, dreading the answer. Your son Michael lost his job 8 months ago but never told you. He has been living off your savings and pension. We also discovered that he has already contacted 3 different doctors, trying to find one willing to certify that you suffer from senile dementia. Each revelation was a deeper stab. They hadn't just planned to rob me. They had already been robbing me for months. They didn't just want to declare me crazy. They had already started the process. And my granddaughter, Ashley? I asked in a broken voice. She has her secrets too, Mrs. Martha. She's 3 months pregnant, but she's lying to her parents about who the father island. Apparently, the real father is a 50-year-old married man who promised to leave his wife, but now wants nothing to do with the baby. Oh my God, I whispered. My granddaughter, the girl I had helped raise, was caught in a scandal that could destroy her future. There's more, Mr. Croft continued. Vanessa has been having an affair with your neighbor, David, for the past 2 years. My investigator has photographs and videos to prove it. David? Karen's husband? I asked, remembering the sweet woman who lived next door to my house. The very same. Apparently, Vanessa and David meet at a motel on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, while Michael thinks she's at her yoga class. The irony was brutal. While they were planning to destroy my life by accusing me of being crazy, each of them was living lies that made them far worse than I had ever imagined. Mr. 20 Prusand, Croft, I want you to document all of this, I told him with renewed determination. Every lie, every theft, every betrayal. I want that when the time comes to confront them, you have evidence of everything. Of course, Mrs. Martha, but I have a suggestion. Instead of confronting them immediately, what do you think if we let them keep digging their own grave a little deeper? That afternoon, I decided to do something I hadn't done in years: buy new clothes. I went to the most elegant stores in the city and bought 3 beautiful dresses, 1 elegant black, 1 vibrant red, and 1 emerald green that made me feel powerful. I also bought new shoes, a genuine leather handbag, and even had my hair styled at the most exclusive salon in the city. The stylist, a young woman named Sophia, worked on my hair for 3 hours. Ma'am, you have beautiful hair, she told me as she worked. Why have you had it so neglected? Because for a long time, I thought it wasn't worth taking care of myself, I replied honestly. I thought my only function was to be the invisible grandmother who takes care of everyone else. Well, those days are over, Sophia declared firmly. When I'm done with you, you're going to look like the queen you've always been. And she was right. When I saw myself in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman looking back. My hair had a modern, elegant cut with highlights that brought light to my face. I looked powerful. That night, having dinner in the hotel restaurant, I decided to call Michael. Mom? Finally. Where the hell have you been? His voice was furious, not worried. Taking care of myself, son? I replied calmly. You know, it's been years since I've dedicated time to myself. It's been very revealing. Mom, this has to stop. You can't just disappear like this. We're your family. We have a right to know where you are. A right? I repeated, letting the word hang in the air. Since when does my family have rights over me? Since you started behaving erratically, he replied. And there it was again, trying to plant the seed that I was mentally unstable. Erratic? You think it's erratic for a 70-year-old woman to decide to take a few days for herself? Yes, when that woman has never done something like that before. Mom, I think you need to talk to a specialist. You're acting very strangely. A specialist? I asked, feigning confusion. What kind of specialist, Michael? A psychologist, Mom. Someone who can help you with these behavioral changes. Perfect. He was admitting his intentions himself on a call I was recording. You know what, son? You're right. I do need specialized help, I told him, and I could hear his sigh of relief on the other end of the line. I'm glad you understand, Mom. Yes, I understand perfectly. I need a specialist in family fraud, a specialist in elder abuse, and a specialist in psychological manipulation, because that is exactly what you all have been doing to me. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Mom, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I know everything, Michael. I know about the fake credit cards Vanessa took out in my name. I know about your plan to have me declared incompetent. I know about the doctors you've contacted. I know everything. Mom, that's ridiculous. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you really need medical help. You know what else I know, Michael? I know you lost your job 8 months ago and have been living off my money while lying to my face. I know about the Cancun trip you paid for with my stolen money. And I know many other things that are going to surprise you a lot when you see them in court. You're delusional, he said, but his voice no longer sounded confident. Delusional? Last night I overheard you planning how to drive me crazy for real by switching my medications. Is that also a delusion? This time the silence was even longer. Mom, come home. We can talk about this as a family. No, Michael. We are no longer a family. A family doesn't betray each other the way you betrayed me. A family doesn't plan the mental destruction of one of its members to steal their money. Mom, please. What I am going to do is give you a chance. A single chance to confess everything, apologize genuinely, and return every cent you have stolen from me. If you do, maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to forgive you. We have nothing to confess, he replied, but his voice was trembling. Then I'll see you in court, son. Have a good night. I hung up the phone, and for the first time in days, I felt completely at peace. The war had been officially declared, and I had all the weapons. The following days were an emotional roller coaster. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with desperate calls from my family. First, they tried the love tactic. Tearful messages from Ashley saying how much she missed me. Broken voices from Vanessa asking for forgiveness for any misunderstanding. And pleas from Michael begging me to come home to clear things up. When that strategy failed, they switched to fear and intimidation. Michael left me a voicemail saying, Mom, if you don't come back immediately, we're going to have to take legal action to protect you from yourself. Your erratic behavior is forcing us to consider a conservatorship. But Julian Croft had prepared me for this. Mrs. Martha, let them file the conservatorship petition, he had advised during one of our meetings. It will be the best evidence we could have of their true intentions. Besides, we already have 3 independent psychiatrists who have certified that you are in sound mental condition. Meanwhile, my private investigator had been very busy. Every day I received new reports that left me more shocked than I thought possible. Mrs. Martha, he told me during our Friday meeting, your family has dramatically accelerated their plans since you disappeared. Yesterday, Michael went to your bank trying to access your accounts, saying you had suffered a psychotic episode and that he needed to manage your finances temporarily. And what did the bank tell him? I asked. Fortunately, the bank manager is very professional. He told Michael he would need official legal documentation to make any changes to your accounts. But Michael insisted so much they had to ask him to leave. Is there more? Yes, Vanessa has been selling your belongings. Yesterday I saw that she posted several of your antique furniture pieces on an online marketplace. She also tried to sell your jewelry collection to a pawn shop, but the appraiser refused because the pieces obviously belonged to an older person and Vanessa couldn't prove she was authorized to sell them. My heart raced. That jewelry was gifts from my late husband, unique pieces he had collected for decades. And my granddaughter Ashley? She's been the most active of all. She's been telling her friends that you are suffering from advanced Alzheimer's and that the family is considering institutionalizing you. She has also been using this story to borrow money from several acquaintances, saying she needs funds to pay for her grandmother's medical care. Each revelation was more painful than the last. They weren't just stealing from me, they were destroying my reputation and using my supposed illness to manipulate other people. But here comes the most interesting part, the investigator continued. Last night, the three of them had a meeting at your house with a man our sources identified as Paulie Rizzo, a known document forger in the criminal underworld. A forger? I asked, my blood running cold. Apparently, they are planning to create fake medical documents that certify your mental incompetence. Paulie Rizzo specializes in creating fictitious medical histories and forging doctors' signatures. This was much worse than I had imagined. They didn't just want to rob me, they were willing to commit multiple serious crimes to do it. Mr. Spenya. Croft, I said on the phone that same afternoon. I think it's time to accelerate our plans. If we wait any longer, they're going to have fake documents that could complicate things. I agree, Mrs. Martha. Are you ready for Phase 2 of our plan? Phase 2 was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of confronting them directly, we were going to let them incriminate themselves publicly. On Monday morning, I dressed in my new elegant black dress, put on my best jewelry, and headed to the most prestigious real estate office in the city. I had made an appointment to see luxury properties, specifically houses over $1 million. Mrs. Martha, the real estate agent, an elegant man named Richard, greeted me. It's a pleasure to meet you. I understand you're interested in acquiring a high-value property. That's right, I replied with confidence. I'm looking for a house that reflects my new stage of life. Something elegant, modern, with good security. Perfect. I have 3 properties that might interest you. What Richard didn't know was that my private investigator had coordinated everything perfectly. At 11 in the morning, exactly when we would be viewing the second property, Michael, Vanessa, and Ashley would coincidentally show up at the same real estate office. We were in the middle of touring a spectacular mansion when I heard familiar voices at the main entrance. Excuse me, I told Richard. I think some acquaintances have just arrived. When we went down to the main lobby, there they were, the 3 of them, dressed in their best clothes, talking to another real estate agent. We're interested in selling a property, I heard Michael say. It's my mother's house, but she's sick, and we have power of attorney to manage her affairs. Power of attorney? The agent asked. Could you show me the documentation? Well, we're still processing the official papers, Vanessa replied nervously, but it's just a matter of days. We want to get a head start on the appraisal process. Hello, family, I said loudly from the stairs. The 3 of them turned at the same time, and their horrified faces were worthy of a movie. Michael went pale, Vanessa's mouth opened without a sound, and Ashley literally took a step back. Mom, Michael stammered. What? What are you doing here? The same as you, apparently, I replied calmly as I descended the stairs. Although I'm buying, not selling. Richard, my real estate agent, approached with a professional smile. Do you know these people, Mrs. Martha? Unfortunately, yes, I replied. They're my family. Or at least, that's what I thought until recently. Mom, we need to talk, Michael said, trying to sound authoritative but failing miserably. About what, Michael? About how you were planning to sell my house without my authorization? About the forged documents you're processing? Or about the power of attorney you just mentioned that doesn't exist? The other real estate agent looked confused and clearly uncomfortable. Excuse me, he interrupted, but if there is a legal conflict over the property, we cannot proceed with any appraisal until it is resolved. There's no conflict, Vanessa said desperately. It's just that she's not well in the head lately. Not well in the head, I repeated loudly, making sure everyone in the office could hear. Is that why I'm here buying a $1.5 million house with my own money? Richard's jaw dropped. $1.5 million? Ashley whispered. Oh yes, dear granddaughter, I said with a sweet smile. It turns out your senile grandmother has quite a bit more money than you all thought. I took out my phone and dialed Julian Croft's number. Julian, I'm at Richards & Associates Realty. My family is here trying to sell my property without authorization and claiming they have power of attorney over my affairs. Could you send someone from your office to document this situation? Of course, Mrs. Martha. Someone will be there in 15 minutes. I hung up and looked at my family with a calmness that surprised me. Now, we're going to wait for my lawyers to arrive, I announced. And they're going to explain to everyone here exactly what legal documents you have, how you obtained them, and why you believe you have the right to sell my property. Michael tried to approach me. Mom, this is a misunderstanding. We can solve this at home. No, I said firmly, taking a step back. There's nothing left to solve at home. I no longer have a home. At least, not with you in it. Vanessa started to cry, but they were tears of panic, not sadness. Martha, please, we're family. Everything we've done has been for your own good. For my own good? I asked, raising my voice. Was stealing my money with fraudulent credit cards for my own good? Was planning to forge medical documents for my own good? Was hiring a criminal to forge my medical history for my own good? Each accusation fell like a bomb in the real estate lobby. The other clients and employees had stopped to listen, and I could see the expressions of horror and disgust on their faces. We don't know what you're talking about, Ashley lied desperately. You don't? I took out my phone and played one of the recordings I had made. Michael's voice filled the space. We'll drive her crazy for real. We'll switch her medications, hide her things, tell her she did things she didn't do. In a month, any doctor will certify that she's insane. The silence in the real estate office was deafening. I could see the faces of the employees and clients fill with indignation and revulsion. That recording is illegal, Vanessa screamed hysterically. Not in this state, I replied calmly. And definitely not when it's recorded to prevent a crime that is being planned. At that moment, 2 lawyers from Julian Croft's firm arrived, along with a public notary. Mrs. Martha? We're from Croft and Associates. We understand there are some people here who claim to have legal authority over your affairs. That's right, I replied. I would like you to officially document that these 3 individuals have no legal power over me, my properties, or my finances, and that any attempt to exercise such authority constitutes fraud. One of the lawyers addressed Michael. Sir, could you show me the documentation that supports your authority to sell Mrs. Martha's property? They don't have any documentation, I declared, because they have no authority. What they do have is a criminal plan to steal everything I own. The public humiliation at the real estate office was just the beginning. When we left the building, my family followed me to the street, alternately screaming and begging. Mom, wait, Michael yelled. We can fix this. It's all been a terrible misunderstanding. Grandma, please, Ashley cried. I love you. You can't do this to us. Vanessa, for her part, had completely changed her strategy. She was no longer feigning love or concern. You're a bitter old woman, she shouted as I got into my taxi. You've used us all these years. Michael gave you the best years of his life, and this is how you repay him. The best years of his life? I turned to her from the taxi window. You mean the years when I worked 18 hours a day to support him? The years I gave up my career, my friends, my social life to raise him? Those years? You chose to adopt him, Vanessa retorted with venom in her voice. No one forced you, and now you expect us to owe you eternal gratitude. I don't expect you to owe me gratitude, I replied with deadly calm. I just expect you not to rob me, not to betray me, and not to plan to drive me crazy to get my money. Apparently, that was too much to ask. I told the taxi driver to go, leaving my family shouting on the sidewalk. That afternoon, Julian Croft summoned me to his office for an urgent meeting. Mrs. Martha, I have extraordinary news, he told me with a smile I hadn't seen before. Your family made a critical mistake after the incident at the real estate office. What kind of mistake? In their desperation, Michael went directly to the document forger, Paulie Rizzo, and paid him $50,000 in advance to expedite the creation of his fake medical documents. $50,000? Where did they get that kind of money? From the credit cards they took out in your name. And apparently, Vanessa sold her car. But here's the best part. Paulie Rizzo is an FBI informant. He has been collaborating with the authorities for the past 6 months to dismantle a document fraud ring. I was speechless for a moment. You mean? I mean your family is not only being investigated for family fraud, but they are now under federal investigation for conspiracy to commit medical document fraud. The FBI has audio and video recordings of the entire transaction. That night, from my hotel suite, I decided to do something I had been putting off. Confront each member of my family individually, but not face to face. I had something much more powerful in mind. I opened my laptop and created an account on the most popular live streaming platform in the country. My title was simple but effective. A grandmother tells the truth about her family. At 8 o'clock at night, I started my first live stream. At first, there were only 3 viewers, but to my surprise, the number began to grow rapidly. "Good evening," I began, looking directly at the camera. "My name is Martha. I'm 70 years old, and tonight I'm going to tell you a story that will change the way you see perfect families." In 20 minutes, I had over 500 viewers. By the end of the hour, there were over 3,000. I told them everything, from adopting Michael to Dr. Evan's secret note, from the fraudulent credit cards to the plans to drive me crazy. I played the recordings, showed the documents I had compiled, and explained each betrayal in precise detail. The live comments were overwhelmingly supportive. "What a horrible family. Mrs. Martha, you are a warrior. Sue them. Make them pay for everything." My grandmother went through something similar. "Thank you for being brave." But what really changed everything was when, halfway through my stream, I received a live call. It was Ashley. "Grandma, please turn off that stream," she pleaded. "You're ruining our lives." "I'm ruining your lives?" I repeated so that all the viewers could hear. "Don't you think you all ruined mine first? Grandma, everyone is watching us. My friends, my teachers, the whole school. I can't even leave the house. And how do you think I would feel when you had me committed to a nursing home against my will, declared mentally incompetent, and robbed of all my money? That was never going to happen. We were just exploring options." "Exploring options?" I shouted, for the first time losing the composure I had maintained for days. "Ashley, I raised you since you were a baby. I changed your diapers, I took you to school, I took care of you when you were sick. And you stood there, smiling, while your parents planned to destroy me." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening, but the live comments exploded. "Make her tell the truth. This girl is shameless. Mrs. Martha, don't let her manipulate you." "Grandma," Ashley finally said in a broken voice, I needed money for college. And for other things. I thought you thought what, Ashley? You thought I was your personal bank? You thought you could collaborate on a plan to drive me crazy and then use my money to pay for your studies? It's not like that. Then how is it? Explain it to the 4,000 people watching us right now. Explain to them why you told your friends you needed to borrow money to pay for my medical care while I was perfectly fine." Another silence. Then, barely audible, "How do you know that? Because I'm not the senile old woman you all think I am. I know everything, Ashley. Everything. Including things about you that your parents don't know." "What? What things?" "Things that could ruin your future far more than this stream ever could." She hung up immediately, but the damage was done. The viewers had heard my granddaughter implicitly admit she knew about the plans against me. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Michael, and he sounded absolutely furious. "Mom, turn off that damn stream right now," he roared. "Hello, Michael," I said sweetly. "Would you like to speak to the 5,000 people watching us? This is defamation. I'm going to sue you for slander." "Slander? Is it slander to play audio recordings where you all plan to drive me crazy? Is it slander to show the bank statements that prove you've been stealing from me for months? Those recordings are illegal. Not in this state, son, and definitely not when they're made to prevent a crime. But tell me, do you want to explain to all these viewers why you paid $50,000 to a document forger yesterday afternoon?" The silence was so long I thought he had hung up. How do you know that?" "Because Paulie Rizzo is an FBI informant, Michael. Congratulations. You're now not only under investigation for family fraud, but for federal conspiracy. You're lying. Want to bet? Check the news tomorrow morning. Or better yet, wait for the federal agents to knock on your door." The live comments went crazy. "FBI, FBI, FBI. This family is going to jail. Mrs. Martha is a detective. Justice for Grandma." "Mom," Michael said in a broken voice, completely different from his earlier rage, "please, stop this. We can still fix it. We're family." "No, Michael," I replied with genuine sadness. "A family doesn't betray. A family doesn't steal. A family doesn't plan the mental destruction of one of its members. What you are is not a family. It's a criminal organization that shares a last name. We gave you 45 years of our lives. You gave me? I gave you 45 years of mine. I gave up everything for you, and you were just waiting for me to die to inherit what you thought I had. We need that money, Mom. We have debts, problems, and that's why you decided to drive me crazy? That's why you decided to rob me? That's why you decided to destroy the last years of my life? It wasn't personal. Those 3 words hung in the air like a death sentence. It wasn't personal. 45 years of love, sacrifice, and dedication, and for him, it wasn't personal. You're right, Michael, I said finally. It wasn't personal for you, and from now on, it won't be personal for me either. I'll see you in court. I hung up and looked at the camera. And that, dear viewers, was my family, I said with a sad smile. I'll continue with this story tomorrow. Good night. I ended the stream with over 7,000 viewers and hundreds of messages of support. For the first time in weeks, I went to sleep feeling that I was not alone in this battle. The next morning, I woke up to my phone exploding with notifications. My live stream had gone viral. I had thousands of messages of support, hundreds of interview requests from media outlets, and surprisingly, dozens of messages from other older people who had gone through similar situations. Mrs. Martha, one message read, "My son did the exact same thing. Thank you for being brave and telling your story. You've inspired me to take action." Another said, "I'm a lawyer specializing in elder abuse. Your case is textbook. If you need additional help, I'm at your disposal at no cost." But the message that hit me the hardest was from a woman named Helen. "Mrs. Martha, I'm a social worker. Just yesterday, I prevented a family from committing their 75-year-old father after seeing your stream. Your courage is saving other grandparents. Julian Croft called me at 9 in the morning. Mrs. Martha, your stream last night has completely changed the landscape of this case," he told me excitedly. "I have 3 important pieces of news." "Tell me," I replied, pouring my morning coffee into the elegant hotel china. "First, the district attorney contacted me this morning. They want to press criminal charges against your family based on the evidence we've compiled and the partial confessions they made during your live stream." Partial confessions? When Ashley admitted she needed money, and when Michael didn't deny the charges about the forger, they were technically making admissions of guilt live before thousands of witnesses. What's the second piece of news? Your family has hired David Morales, one of the most expensive lawyers in the city. Apparently, they spent another $30,000 they don't have to pay him. Another $30,000? Where are they getting this money? That brings me to the third and most shocking piece of news. Vanessa secretly mortgaged the house you all live in. Using forged documents that showed her as a co-owner, she obtained a $200,000 mortgage 3 weeks ago. I was breathless. She mortgaged my house. Your house, Mrs. Martha. And the worst part is, they've already spent the money. $50,000 to the forger, $30,000 to the lawyer, and the rest they apparently used to pay off the fraudulent credit card debts and other expenses. What does that mean? It means that technically the bank now has a lien on your property based on forged documents. We're going to have to fight this as well, but I'm confident we will win. After hanging up with Mr. Croft, I decided to do something I had been putting off: visit my house. Not to reconcile with my family, but to retrieve my most valuable belongings before they mysteriously disappeared. I arrived at 11 in the morning, accompanied by 2 lawyers from the firm and a court officer who had authorized my entry to collect my personal belongings. The house looked neglected. The garden I had perfectly maintained was overgrown with weeds, and trash was piled up at the entrance. Michael opened the door, his face a mask of total shock. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I've come to collect my things," I replied coldly. "These people are my legal representatives, and this officer is here to ensure I can take my belongings without interference." Vanessa appeared behind Michael, disheveled and in her pajamas in the middle of the morning. "You can't come in here," she screamed hysterically. "This is our house now." "Your house?" one of my lawyers asked. "Do you have documents to prove that claim?" We live here," Vanessa stammered. "Living in a property does not make you the owners," the lawyer explained patiently. "And it certainly doesn't give you the right to fraudulently mortgage it. I entered my own home for the first time in over a week, and the state I found it in horrified me. The living room was filled with takeout boxes, empty liquor bottles, and clothes thrown everywhere. My beautiful house had turned into a pigsty in a few days. "What have you done to my house?" I asked, feeling rage build in my chest. "We've been stressed," Ashley mumbled from the stairs. "We haven't been able to clean." "Stressed from planning how to rob me?" I retorted. "Stressed from trying to drive me crazy? Stressed from fraudulently mortgaging my property?" I went up to my room and found something that left me speechless. They had completely rummaged through my drawers, my closets, my most intimate belongings. It was clear they had been looking for something. "What were you looking for?" I asked Michael, who had followed me. "Nothing, Mom. We were just worried about you." "Worried? Is that why you trashed my room?" I opened my jewelry box and confirmed my suspicions. Several pieces were missing, including the diamond earrings my husband had given me on our 20th anniversary. "Where is my jewelry?" I asked directly. "What jewelry?" Vanessa lied. I took out my phone and dialed the private investigator's number. "Could you tell me exactly which pieces of jewelry you found that Vanessa tried to sell at the pawn shop?" I asked on speakerphone so everyone could hear. "The diamond earrings, the pearl necklace, the white gold bracelet with emeralds, and the spare engagement ring," the voice recited from the phone. Vanessa went as white as a sheet. "That jewelry is in the safe deposit box," she lied desperately. "What safe deposit box?" my lawyer asked. "Do you have legal access to a safe deposit box in Mrs. Martha's name?" Total silence. "Vanessa," I said in a dangerously low voice, "you have exactly 24 hours to return every single piece of my jewelry. If they don't appear, I am filing additional charges for grand larceny." As I packed my most important belongings, I could hear my family whispering desperately in the kitchen. I decided to get closer to listen. "We have to get the jewelry back," Michael was saying. "I can't," Vanessa replied. "I already sold it. We needed the money for the lawyer." "You sold all of it?" Ashley asked, horrified. "What did you want me to do?" "We needed another $50,000 for Polly to get the documents done faster, but that jewelry was worth over $100,000, Michael yelled. $100,000? I asked from the kitchen doorway. The three of them turned as if they had seen a ghost. "Mom, we can explain," Michael began. "Explain how?" "Explain that you knew exactly how much my jewelry was worth when you stole it? Explain that you sold it for a fraction of its value to pay a criminal? Explain that you not only stole items of incalculable sentimental value, but also sold them at a loss? We needed the money urgently," Vanessa sobbed. "For what?" "To pay the forger who was going to help you steal all my money. To pay the lawyer who was going to help you declare me crazy." Ashley began to cry. "Grandma, I'm so sorry. I didn't know the jewelry was so important to you." "You didn't know?" I looked at her, incredulous. "You didn't know that your grandfather gave me the diamond earrings the day I first met you? You didn't know the pearl necklace belonged to my mother? You didn't know that each of those pieces had a story, a memory, a part of my life? I thought they were just old things," she mumbled. "Old things. Like me. Right?" The court officer approached. "Mrs. Martha, if you're finished collecting your belongings, we should go." "Yes," I replied, taking the last box. "I'm done here. Forever." As I left the house, Michael shouted from the door, "Mom, we can still fix this. We're family." I turned one last time. "No, Michael. Family is built on love, respect, and trust. You all destroyed all three. We are not family anymore. Now we are just adversaries in a court of law." I got in the car and drove away from the house where I had lived for 45 years, knowing I would never return as the woman I had been. I was returning as the woman I had become, a warrior who would not be destroyed without a fight. The next few days were a whirlwind of legal and media activity. My second live stream, where I showed the state of my ransacked house and narrated the theft of my jewelry, was viewed by over 15,000 people in real time. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive, but some broke my heart. "My family did the same thing to me last year," one woman wrote. "Thank you for giving me the courage to report them. Mrs. Martha, You inspired me to check my father's finances. I discovered my brother had been stealing from him for years, another person commented. But it was a private message that really hit me. This is your neighbor, Karen. Vanessa told me that David and she were seeing each other in secret. I thought you should know. I have pictures if you need them for the trial. Karen. The sweet neighbor whose husband, David, had been having an affair with my daughter-in-law for 2 years. Even in my pain, I felt compassion for her. On Friday morning, Julian Croft called me for an urgent meeting. Mrs. Martha, I have news that will change everything, he told me with a smile I hadn't seen before. The FBI arrested Paulie Rizzo last night, and in his interrogation, he confessed everything about the transaction with your family. Everything. Not only did he admit that Michael paid him to forge medical documents, but he also revealed that your family asked him to create a fake will in your name, leaving everything to them and declaring that you were mentally incompetent when you signed it. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. A fake will. Apparently, the plan was much more elaborate than we thought. They were going to use the fake medical documents to have you committed, then present the forged will, and finally wait for you to die in the nursing home to legally inherit everything. Oh my God, I whispered. How long were they planning this? According to Paulie Rizzo, Vanessa first contacted him 4 months ago. This was not a last-minute desperate decision. It was a calculated and premeditated conspiracy. That afternoon, as I processed this new information in my hotel suite, I received an unexpected call. It was Ashley, and for the first time in weeks, her voice sounded genuinely broken. Grandma, can we talk? Please, just you and me. For what, Ashley? So you can lie to me more? So you can try to emotionally manipulate me? No, Grandma, to tell you the truth. The whole truth. I can't do this anymore. Something in her voice made me hesitate. I decided to take a risk. All right, but it will be in a public place, with witnesses, and I am going to record the entire conversation. Whatever you want. Just, please. We met in the hotel lobby cafe. Ashley arrived with her eyes swollen from crying, dressed carelessly, very different from the vain girl I knew. Grandma, she began before I could say anything. You have to know that I never wanted things to get this far. How far, Ashley? How far did you think was acceptable? At first, Mom and Dad just talked about convincing you to move to a luxury nursing home. They said it would be better for you, that you'd have company your own age. And what did you think? I thought maybe they were right. The house is very big for you alone, and you did seem lonely sometimes. She stopped and looked me in the eye. But that was before I knew about the money. What money? They didn't know about my secret accounts. No, but they knew about your pension, about the savings you had in the local bank, about the value of the house. Mom had been researching for months. Researching how? She went through your papers when you weren't around. She called your bank pretending to be you. She even went to see your old boss to ask about your retirement pension. Each revelation was a deeper stab. And when did they decide that just convincing me wasn't enough? Ashley started to cry. When Mom found out that you could live another 20 years, she said she couldn't wait that long, that she needed the money now. Why did she need the money so urgently? To pay off Dad's debts. He lost a lot of money on sports betting over the last 2 years. He owes over $100,000 to some very dangerous people. Another shocking revelation. Michael hadn't just lost his job, he was a compulsive gambler with dangerous debts. And what part did you play in all this? I needed money for college, and for other things. She unconsciously touched her stomach. Other things like what, Ashley? I'm pregnant, Grandma, she finally confessed. The father is. He's a married man who wants nothing to do with the baby. I need money to decide what to do. My heart broke for my granddaughter, but I also felt a deep rage. And that's why you decided to participate in a plan to drive me crazy? I didn't know they wanted to drive you crazy, she cried out, drawing glances from other cafe patrons. I thought they just wanted a doctor to say you needed special care. What's the difference, Ashley? I don't know. I guess there is no difference. She cried silently for a few minutes. Grandma, when you left the house, everything fell apart. Mom and Dad do nothing but fight. Mom says it's all Dad's fault for gambling. Dad says it's all Mom's fault for being too ambitious. And I'm in the middle, pregnant and terrified. And what do you want from me now? I want you to forgive me. And I want you to know that if you testify against Mom and Dad, I'm going to tell the truth. Everything I know, everything I saw, everything I heard. I was silent, processing this unexpected offer. Why are you switching sides now, Ashley? Because last night Dad told me that if everything goes wrong, they're going to say I was the one who had the idea to steal your jewelry. They're going to say I manipulated them into doing it because I needed money for drugs. Drugs? I don't use drugs, Grandma. But Dad says it's more believable to blame the rebellious teenager than to admit they planned everything. The final betrayal. They hadn't just betrayed me. Now they were willing to betray their own daughter to save themselves. Do you have proof of what you're telling me? Ashley took out her phone. I have recordings of all their fights since you left. I have text messages where they plan to blame me. I have videos of Mom counting the money she got from selling your jewelry. Why did you record all that? Because a week ago, I realized that when all this is over, they're going to abandon me too. I'm a minor, I'm pregnant, and I have no money. They're going to need a scapegoat, and that scapegoat is going to be me. I looked at her intently, trying to determine if this was another manipulation or if I was finally hearing the truth. Ashley, if you decide to testify against your parents, your life is going to change forever. Your relationship with them will be completely over. My relationship with them is already over, Grandma. From the moment they decided to use me as part of their plan against you, and then decided to sacrifice me to save themselves. And what do you want in return for your testimony? I want you to help me finish high school. I want you to help me make the right decision about my pregnancy, and I want you to teach me how to be a strong woman like you. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of the old connection I had had with my granddaughter. Ashley, if you do this, if you help me get justice, I won't just help you with high school and your situation. I'll teach you something much more valuable. What? I'll teach you that real family isn't defined by blood, but by loyalty, respect, and genuine love. And that sometimes, protecting yourself means walking away from toxic people, even if you share their last name. Ashley extended her hand across the table. Deal, Grandma. I shook her hand, knowing that this moment would mark the beginning of the end for Michael and Vanessa. Deal, my child. But now you are my ally, and allies protect each other. Are you ready for that responsibility? More ready than I've ever been for anything in my life. The trial date arrived faster than I expected. In 3 weeks, Julian Croft had built such a solid case that even my family's expensive lawyer recommended they plead guilty to negotiate a lesser sentence. But Michael and Vanessa refused. They wanted to take the case to trial, convinced they could manipulate the jury with the image of a loving family caring for a confused grandmother. The day the trial began, I arrived at the courthouse dressed in my most elegant black suit, accompanied by Ashley, who had decided to move in with me at the hotel for the duration of the legal process. Are you nervous, Grandma? She asked as we climbed the courthouse steps. No, my child, I replied calmly. I am at peace. The truth always finds its way. The courtroom was packed. My story had gone national after several media outlets covered my live streams. There were journalists, cameras, and dozens of older people who had come to show their support. When I saw Michael and Vanessa at the defense table, I almost didn't recognize them. Michael had lost weight and had deep dark circles under his eyes. Vanessa looked haggard and nervous. The stress of knowing they were facing years in prison had taken its toll. The prosecutor presented the case masterfully. He showed the audio recordings where they planned to drive me crazy. He presented the evidence of the credit card fraud. He explained the conspiracy with the document forger. And finally, he showed the proof of the fraudulent mortgage on my house. But the most impactful moment came when Ashley took the stand as a witness for the prosecution. Miss Ashley, the prosecutor asked her, can you tell us what you heard when your parents discussed the plans regarding your grandmother? In a firm, clear voice, Ashley narrated every conversation, every plan, every betrayal. She described how they had planned to switch my medications, how they had calculated how much money they would get from my death, and how they had decided to blame her if everything went wrong. When she finished testifying, the silence in the courtroom was deafening. I saw several members of the jury wiping tears from their eyes. The defense attorney tried to discredit Ashley, suggesting she was lying to get money from me. "Miss, isn't it true that you are pregnant and need money?" he asked aggressively. "Yes, I'm pregnant," Ashley replied with dignity. "And yes, I need help. But I'm not lying to get it. I'm telling the truth because it's the right thing to do. And isn't it convenient that your grandmother has promised to help you financially in exchange for your testimony?" "My grandmother didn't promise me money in exchange for my testimony," Ashley retorted firmly. "She promised me support because I finally had the courage to do the right thing. There's a difference. When it was my turn to testify, I took the stand feeling the weight of every eye in the courtroom on me. "Mrs. Martha," the prosecutor asked me, "can you tell us how you felt when you discovered your family's plans?" "I felt as if I had been living a lie for 45 years, I replied. "They didn't just betray me. They made me question every moment of love I thought I had shared with them. They made me wonder if I was ever anything more than an obstacle between them and my money." "And how do you feel now?" "Now I feel free," I said, looking directly at Michael. "Free from the lies, free from the manipulation, and free from the obligation to love people who never truly loved me." The defense attorney tried to paint me as a vengeful, wealthy woman who was exaggerating the situation. "Mrs. Martha, isn't it true that you have millions of dollars that you never mentioned to your family?" "It's true that I have resources they were unaware of," I admitted. "But those resources do not justify conspiring to drive me crazy, steal my identity, or forge legal documents. Don't you think your family deserved to know about that money?" "Deserved? Why? For planning my forced institutionalization? For stealing from me for months? For betraying me in the cruelest way possible?" The trial lasted 5 days. In the end, the jury deliberated for just 2 hours before returning with a unanimous verdict: guilty on all charges. Michael was sentenced to 12 years in prison for conspiracy, fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. Vanessa received 10 years for the same charges, plus additional charges for the mortgage fraud. When the judge read the sentences, Vanessa collapsed, sobbing. Michael simply stared ahead with an empty expression. After the trial, as we were leaving the courthouse, a reporter asked me, "Mrs. Martha, do you feel that justice was served?" "I feel that legal justice was served," I replied. "But the real justice was discovering who I really was before it was too late to enjoy the rest of my life." 6 months later, I bought a beautiful house on the outskirts of the city. It's smaller than my old house, but it's full of light and has a lovely garden where Ashley and I spend our afternoons. Ashley finished high school with honors and decided to keep the baby. She is now studying law, inspired by everything we went through together. She says she wants to specialize in protecting the elderly. "Grandma," she told me a few weeks ago as we were working in the garden, "do you ever regret adopting Dad?" "I don't regret adopting him," I replied, stroking the flowers we had planted together. "I only regret not understanding sooner that kindness should never be practiced at the cost of self-destruction." "And what did you learn from all this?" "I learned that real family isn't defined by blood or years shared. It's defined by mutual respect, genuine loyalty, and unconditional love. I learned that it's better to be alone with dignity than accompanied by betrayal. And I learned that it's never too late to start over. Now, at 71, I am living the fullest life I have ever had. I travel, I read, I have new friends, and above all, I have a genuine relationship with my granddaughter, who has become the daughter of my heart I always wanted." Michael and Vanessa have tried to contact me from prison several times, but their letters go straight into the trash, unopened. Some doors, once closed, should never be reopened. Every night, before I go to sleep, I give thanks for 3 things. For Dr. Evans, who had the courage to warn me, for my own strength, which I didn't know I had, and for discovering that endings can also be beginnings if you have the courage to write your own story. Kindness is still important in my life, but now I practice it with wisdom. I help other older people facing similar situations. I support Ashley in her studies, and I have created a foundation to prevent elder abuse. But more important than all that, I have finally learned to love myself as much as I loved others for my entire life. And that, my dears, is the most valuable lesson of all.